I have you to thank for me going from not knowing how to cook steak at all to looking like a master, even though you've essentially just provided me the idiot-proof method of cooking a steak, and that is the reverse sear. Throw it in the oven for 200 degrees, get it all the way up to the temperature that I want it, let it rest for at least 30 to 45 minutes, throw it on a hot grill on each side for a little bit after that.
Man, it is truly the best way to cook a bunch of food for a bunch of people very quickly.
Yeah, and like I've cooked for just my family of 4, and I've cooked for larger parties, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, how long you been cooking steak for?
This guy's amazing.
Ever since Franklin came out with the steak book a few years ago, now I'm a pro, so thank you for that.
I do it little I can. And the other big tip,
everything's live.
Put salt on it, everything.
Matthew, would you like to introduce our guest who doesn't need much of an introduction, if anybody is even halfway competent in the world of Austin food?
Yeah, our dinner guest today is Aaron Franklin, co-founder of Franklin BBQ, and co-founder of Uptown Sports Club here on East 6th Street, where we find ourselves today, and co-founder of Hot Luck Food Festival, which is food and music festival, which is taking place Memorial Day weekend.
Yep, May 22nd through 25th.
And a few changes this year. What year is this for Hot Luck?
Oh, golly. It would be year 9 if we had to skip 2 years during COVID. So it's 7.
The 7th iteration of the festival. Yep. How has it, what was the original idea for the festival?
Well, the original idea was just to throw a fun party for the industry, like bring in cool chefs that don't do festivals, people that aren't on TV, that are really just like doing the good work out there. And that's exactly what we've really done. Like it's a food festival and music festival that is really kind of run like a kitchen. So everybody's, from the background stuff, like given the support to have a successful cook. I curate all the chef stuff, and it's like, okay, well, this guy's really good at cooking like this. We'll put him on this event. This person comes from a very small restaurant. They can't support much. We'll put them on this event. And it's really like the whole thing just works really well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just kissing your ass, but it's the best food festival in America. And
well, I couldn't agree more.
But, the reason is because it doesn't feel like a food festival. It feels like a party, which was your intention. And I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, part of that is because food festivals are usually sponsored by a media apparatus. They're sponsored by, not that you guys don't have corporate sponsors that are partners with you guys, but they're sponsored by huge brands that are kind of running the thing, and people never really feel too invested in them. They come in, they turn and burn, they do their small plates. It feels like a dinner party with you guys, whether it's the opening night event or the main event, Al Fuego. It feels like people are cooking for each other and they're having fun doing it. And I think that's because it's run by a chef, and that other chefs are doing it because it's your festival and not because they're beholden to some magazine or television show.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I wouldn't have said it better myself.
So, I mean, how many...
I don't like to toot horns, but they're like, awkward.
How many chefs did you guys have the first year?
Oh, man. I was looking through spreadsheets a few weeks ago, and the first year had, I think, 12 chefs or something like that. It wasn't many. And it was...
Wow, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it was so small. We didn't have any money. Well, it's a festival, we still don't. And this year, we kind of downsized a little bit because the last 2 years were getting a little bit too big. And last year, I think we had 73 chefs. And it felt like it was about 20 too many, just because it was so hard for everybody to get to see everybody. Like the events were getting a little too big. So we tried to make it a little smaller. This year we've got 56, I think. But yeah, that first year was like 10 or 15.
Well, it is an endless list on that website. You scroll through the chefs and you see
it just keeps going,
really cool regional flair, local flair. It's just it's impressive.
Well, it's cool, and I invited those people like 6 months ago. So now people are like, "Oh, who are you excited to see?" I'm like, well, "Hey, I'm not going to get to really see anyone because I'm working the whole time, but I also don't remember." So I was scrolling through the website and just trying to remember oh yeah, oh my god, and I got so excited. Just kind of revisiting all these people, that I'm friends with, and new friends and old friends and friends of friends, and the Hot Luck network is working.
Well, and I was going to say it's all over town, right? It's different venues, right? Which I love. I mean, that's the other part about these big festivals, right? They always go to the Long Center or something big, and it's just lines on lines. What I like about Hot Luck is, the different venue aspect. different music, different pairings.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's really meant to be choose your own adventure. But I was going to say about the chefs, like me scrolling through the chefs before I get distracted, is that like I got so excited, like, oh man, this guy. And then I like started thinking like my baseball card stats for like each chef. And holy mother of pearl, that list is so stacked. And they're not names that you would see on TV necessarily, but people in the industry were like, oh man, how'd they get that person?
It's all the restaurants you want to eat at when you're traveling around the country.
Absolutely. And it's all chefs that like I said, really mean it. They're cooking for their friends, they're cooking for me, but they're so invested into Hot Luck that they're bringing their A game. Like no one's calling it in. And I also personally invite everyone, you know, like if it's somebody I don't know or hadn't eaten at their restaurant, I'll go eat at their restaurant before they get an invite.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's become like a really cool thing. Like I could be sitting at a bar and just by myself in some Midwest small city, you know, and just having a drink, you know, and just kind of hanging out, looking back through the past and stuff. And you could just see the kitchen just like doing that. And then, you know, and this has happened so many times.
Why is he here?
And it just makes me feel so proud of Hot Luck that, you know, like people are just that excited about it. And I'll walk up and be like, hey guys, I'm Aaron. You know, they're like, yeah, we know. And I'm like, well, you guys want to do Hot Luck? And the whole kitchen's like, yeah!
That's awesome.
And that is just so cool. I mean, it's like so insider and just like rock and roll. I love it. But, you know, to the point of like choose your own adventure, that's the kind of cool thing is because like chefs get to choose their own adventures. There's a lot of stuff for each public facing event. There's almost an adjacent like chef based like event. So it's very expensive. But yeah, like you can go see a show, you can go to this event, you can do this after party, you can go have this unofficial chef dinner at somebody's restaurant. Like the fact that everybody's friends really just makes it so much more fun.
As a recovering collector now, I kind of want chef cards. I want chef cards. You just got an idea.
Well, we meant to do them in the early days and never did.
All right. Well, let's plant that seed for next year because I would collect.
It would be really
chef
cool.
baseball cards.
Yeah, and they come with like, you know, gourmet chewing gum.
And the thing I like, you know, last year I was at, I think it was last year, I was at El Fuego and I had this Peruvian ceviche from a restaurant in Miami that I'd never heard of. It had only been open like a year or so, and I asked you.
They're coming back.
Yeah, they're coming back. I saw it. Is it Maddie's? Is that the name of the restaurant?
Yep.
And I loved it, and I was like, how'd you meet her? And you said, well, I talked to Amanda Schulman, who runs her place?
Her Place
Supper Club in Philly. Now she has another
now
place.
it's My Loop. Her and her husband Alex run that
Have My
spot
Loop.
now.
And so Amanda Schulman, I'd never had her food until Hot Luck like 2 or 3 years ago. And so
man, she is one of the best young chefs in the country.
Exactly.
She's
one of my favorite chefs now. And then you go
Mine
to
too.
her and you're like, hey, you got anybody you think would be cool? And she's like, how about this chef? So there's kind of this networking of like friends of friends, check it out, let me introduce you to this
and
person.
that really has taken a lot of load off of me, you know, because now like I have like trusted homies, you know, and Amanda's certainly one of them. And others, and also like food writers around the country, like people that are putting out lists for magazines and stuff like that. Like I'll shoot a text and be like, hey, you know, it's, you know, of course it would be like, you know, like August, you know, I'm like, hey, starting to put a list together, you know, because the invites, I try to get them out by November for Hot Luck. And I'll just kind of go out and you're like, hey, who's on your radar? Like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this chef, you know, and no one's heard of him yet. So it's kind of like getting to play kind of both sides of it a little bit. But yeah, the network has become so cool because it's not just me now. It's, you know, we've cast such a wide net, and friends that have done Hot Luck a bunch of times or maybe just once or twice that know what we're about, know like other friends that would be a good fit, and no one really suggests like some ding dong that's gonna like be a pain in the butt, you know, like it's really just our people.
Yeah,
it's
and if you're
cool.
gonna vouch for somebody to come to this thing, you want to make sure you got it pretty
Well, you
buttoned
can't let anybody down, you know.
Right. And I mean, despite it having your name on it, like it's not a steak fest or a barbecue fest. Like you get Mediterranean food, you get Egyptian food, you get
I try so hard
Mexican food, you
to
get
have
everything
just so the diversity is like so wide for this thing.
You mentioned an excitement in exposing people to a brand new chef. Is there somebody on this year's slate that may be a relative unknown that you're excited for the Hot Luck crowd to get to meet for the first time?
I'm excited for Jeff Davis. He's out of Oakland, and
give us the baseball card stats here.
Well, so Burdell is his restaurant out of Oakland. It's kind of like a home cooking California kind of thing. I haven't had a chance to eat there, but he's such a nice guy. I've talked to him on the phone so much. We were trying to get him last year, and he couldn't pull it off because our restaurant was really young and couldn't quite pull it off. And this year, he's totally coming, and I'm so excited. It just, every time we've like Zoomed about stuff, we're like, oh my God, it's the nicest guy ever. And I'm just really stoked about it. So
people say that about you too.
Yeah,
you're one of the nicest guys around. Modest too. That's why it's interesting to hear you talk about going into restaurants and introducing yourself. And your reputation precedes you in some places, but there's still a modesty that comes into play to say, hey, do you want to come down to Austin and hang out at this really cool festival that I put on?
Yeah, it's really hot. You want to hang out?
Yeah. But my sense is that underneath the super nice guy, you also, I get the sense that a lot of people don't want to disappoint Aaron Franklin because he's known as a bit of a perfectionist. And so I think the way you want things.
That might factor a little bit, maybe. I never thought of it that way.
I mean, I think you want things to operate in a certain way. And so I think some people might be intimidated to show up to this thing unless they had the confidence that they know they could pull it off. So I think it kind of attracts a confident, kind of elite caliber of folk.
Well, it does. And like if you go through the chef list, there's like a whole bunch of like tried and true old schoolers, people that have done it a lot of years. And it's like your Ashley Christensen's, your Renee Erickson's, like your kind of OGs, like your Aaron Franklins that have been doing it for 15, 20
Chris
years.
Bianco.
Yeah, Bianco. Although Chris didn't come in this year.
Right.
First year he's missed.
He doesn't know that.
Yeah. But and then like a bunch of up and comers, and then like a whole bunch of mid range. So it covers like the whole like trajectory of like a restaurant or a chef's kind of like career, and one really cool thing that it's meant also for up and comers. So I try to keep it about half and half. But like people that haven't really done festivals before, like that's a totally different monster. I mean, cooking a festival is a lot different than doing a 30-seat restaurant, like. And
you supply these people. I mean, early on you were especially welding certain cookery.
Yeah, I don't
do
much of that anymore.
You don't do much of that anymore. But I mean, this is not like, hey, here's some forced meat on a piece of bread. Like here's a piece of bruschetta.
Yeah, don't force it. Like just let it be, man.
But people are making like real composed dishes. Like, I mean, it's not like I'm gonna have a few nibbles and then just get drunk on wine. It's like you're having a culinary experience.
Yeah, it should be that way. But like for some of those up and comers that haven't done stuff, like I'll go through, the hot lug team will be like, okay, well, what are you looking to make? And you're like, that seems hard. What about something like this? Oh, yeah, that would be hard if I did it like that. So we try to like coach youngsters.
Set them up for success.
And
put them in
like,
the right spot.
How much of this are you going to order? I was thinking 5 pounds. It's like, looks like you need 483 pounds. And so we kind of like try to correct everyone's path. I mean, and some people, you just know they're going to show up and bring it. And, the week before, you're like, hey, I need a spoon. I'm like, all right.
And some of the audience might not know that you've been a drummer for decades. You're in a band now.
True.
A regular performing rock and roll band. What's
the band?
I can't say. I don't cross the streams.
All right.
What was the idea of adding music to it and kind of the similar DIY aspect between the indie music scene and what you guys are doing with cooking?
So that's definitely the music scene that I come from, like kind of like DIY, like jump in a van and go play a bunch of shows. The festival is set up like that, but it's also kind of, it also in cahoots with old Fun. So that's kind of where Fun had kind of stopped after 10 years. That's when we started talking about, Hot Luck. I'm like, man, like in the style of that, kind of wacky, fun, really creative, but like, nights that Fun used to do, Fun Nights or Fun Night, whatever it's called, the nighttime shows. We tried to do that with Hot Luck also. So it's kind of, that's a carryover from Fun. But we also book the chefs like they're rock bands.
And you guys there's some changes this year. Instead of being at Onion Creek, is that what it was called? Onion Creek? Wild Onion?
Wild
Onion Ranch. They're the main event, El Fuego, the Saturday night event.
Yeah, they've downsized. Now they just call it Scallions.
Ramps Ranch.
really ramping it up.
You're doing it out at Jester King.
Yep.
Which is an awesome brewery, obviously right out towards Dripping Springs. What was the thinking of going out there, and are you looking forward to the new venue?
Well, so the first year of Hot Luck, I really wanted to do that event, the Fuego. event at Jester King. It didn't really work out. We found Wild Onion Creek, and it's been awesome, but sadly they sold it. So they, last year at the end of the event, they were like, hey, heads up, like we're putting this on the market next year. So, might happen, might not happen. We're like, okay. So then I hollered at Jeff over at Jester King. Was like, hey, we'd like to do this. And also, I mean, Wild Onion Creek was absolutely beautiful, but we had to shuttle people in. We had to use a high school for parking, and that was kind of a pain. Jester King has 800 parking spots. We can't find them all yet, but supposedly they're out there.
That's what they say.
In a field, many fields. But also everybody knows where Jester King is, and now that some of the construction stuff has kind of passed, it's getting a little easier to get out there. So I'm super excited about it, and it's also back to my point of making things a little smaller. It is a little bit smaller, so I think it'll be easier for people to get to all the stations.
Yeah,
It's not a spread out, because I think the Wild Onion Creek Ranch, I think Al Fuego's footprint was like a couple of acres.
Yeah, you can get stuck on one side of the creek, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's 14 chefs over there.
Yeah, and then it's over.
Right. Sir, you have to go home. What else is there's some?
You've been cut off.
There's some new. I've never heard those words before. What's other new programming? I can't remember. There's the welcome thing at Franklin BBQ.
We've got a Giddy Up at Franklin on Thursday for whole enchilada pass holders. Friday is going to be more of a kind of like a street market, I guess. It's over here right behind us at Assembly Hall. So you'll enter through the alleyway, and that's got the whole parking lot thing. That's kind of a riff on like 80s VHS. Like we always have a nostalgia theme for everything because, hey, news alert, I'm old. And then, so that's Thursday, and then that'll let out about 10 o'clock. And then there's we'll be open here at Uptown for maybe some guest bartenders and stuff. Oko's going to have an after party. So kind of like some neighborhood stuff. And I think people just kind of hang out here, go to Mohawk, go see some stuff. The Spits are playing that night at Mohawk. That's where I'm going.
I'm really excited for White Denim, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a great show. They haven't played in ages.
Is that right? I saw them a couple years ago at South by. Maybe that was the last time.
I think that might have been
played.
about the last time.
Wow.
I mean, Spits also haven't played.
I think they played the Rambler party, as it were.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hope that. Oh, never mind. Bad joke. I'm not going to go there.
Come on.
No. It's fine.
Stopping you before.
Well, I hope the heat didn't affect the bubbles in the water.
It might have just been James Petrali. Maybe it wasn't full White Denim. And so then on Sunday you get an event?
Yeah. So then that's Saturday stuff, Fuego, and then we have a brunch event over here at Fair Market. And last year we did the brunch event. It's called Camp Sunnyside. So last year was a themed, summer camp kind of vibe, super fun. But it was really hot. So we're going to make it more of a mess hall kind of situation inside the old Quonset hut, air conditioned.
Nice.
It'll be much better.
Man, that sounds like a great weekend of eating. And, the thing that comes up too, you're talking about all these chefs coming to town. I think it's really great for them to hang out after party wise.
Oh, absolutely.
To get to meet, just like you said, established chefs, pick their brain, make those connections.
It's cool because everybody's helping everybody.
Right.
And you see chefs, at other chef stations, if people need help, everybody just jumps in. It's all hands on deck. And I think that really shows the after parties and the opening parties and the pool parties and
restaurants are so hard, right? I mean, these chefs get siloed, 365 days a year, so it's nice for them to kind of get out of the comfort zone, talk to somebody else, and learn a skill, or at least just say, hey, I respect the hell out of you, and it's really neat to meet you.
Or just get to sit down and drink a beer.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty nice, too.
And it's not like you're nervously standing in line to, take a 5-second selfie with Eric Repair. If you're at one of these parties afterwards, you might run into a big chef that you think's really cool and you've always wanted to chat with, and you could probably go talk to him or her for 5 minutes and have
or longer.
Yeah, or have a cocktail with them or spend all night partying with chefs. It's a pretty cool access to chefs if the culinary world is kind of what you get off on and think is sweet and cool. It's pretty cool entree to that.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Chefs are people too.
Chefs are people too. Kinda.
Sort of hybrid robots.
Well, and speaking of chefs and the idea of coaching tree, getting back to sports, but also the chef's tree, this has come up on the show over the last couple of months now. It's always interesting to look to see a chef's tree and where certain guys and gals started and where they are now, you've got a pretty impressive chef's tree yourself. Do you ever think about, I know you're very forward thinking in how you operate, but do you ever sit down and think about, wow, this person's here, this person's here? We've done pretty well for ourselves over the years in helping to spread this knowledge really across the plains.
I tend to mostly look forward, and I don't like to reflect too much because it's all a little too special. And it's like, I'm pretty lucky, you know. But yeah, I sometimes I do. I'll kind of sit back and be like, wow, like I'm beyond blessed.
Yeah. We've come a long way from a trailer on the feeder road of I-35 in 2009, was it?
Yep.
To this space here on
the trailer
East
days.
6th Street.
I still remember Josh Loving coming in at Fino and being like, dude, there's this barbecue trailer.
They use a lot of salt.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, I'm going every day.
And that was back, I mean, Twitter had been around for about a year and a half when you guys started, but this was still word of mouth days, because I remember the first time I heard about it and went and got in line, and then the second time I went with my old colleague Mike Sutter. But yeah, it felt like a different era when people were still sharing everything.
It really did.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I officially feel like such an old person. Like, I don't even understand, like, you know, all the social media and everything. You know, how everything works. And I was like, man, what back in my day?
Unfrozen caveman chef.
Yeah.
I don't understand these cell phones.
That's back when 45 minutes was a long line.
Yeah. Or if it got to I-35, it's like, I'll try it some other day.
Yeah.
It's still there, though. It's still there. I drive by
crazy.
A couple times a week, and everybody's just got their chairs and having a great time.
Man, they're having a blast out there. Every day I pull in off of 12th Street and coming down Branch, and like when I come around the bend, it's like, is today the day? Oh, thank God there's some people there.
God, there's still
because I'm just still waiting for one day for it
Who's
not
the craziest
happen.
person you've ever seen waiting in line, and you're like, oh my God, like, I know it's kind of a democratic and everybody stands in line, but have you seen somebody in line where you're like, man, you should probably come over to the side?
No.
Or do you usually hear from
really.
those people ahead of time?
No, I mean, there's been a bunch of people, like cool, famous people, or like musicians or actors and stuff like that have stood in line that, you know, but the thing is, like, if they're trying to skip the line, they're really not welcome.
Right.
Because they're just not doing it right. You know, not that everybody, you know, you can get an order, we could place orders to go, we could, like, whatever. Like, there's ways to work around stuff. But you have to do it in a nice way. Like, you can't just be like, like we've had a few like hot shot chefs that have popped in, like, you know who I am? They're trying to like skip through the line. We're like, no man, just be cool.
Well,
be cool.
Barack Obama had to wait in line, correct?
Well, so he's actually technically the only person that's ever really skipped the line.
Oh, okay.
But everybody let him through. Like,
Yeah.
they pulled up on the street, and of course 35 shut down. I mean, there's like snipers on roofs and stuff. But he was so darn nice. Like, he gets out of the car and he went through the line, took pictures, like shook people's hands, like chit chatted with everybody, and just like, hey, real sorry, I'm gonna keep moving if that's okay, you know. And then he bought a bunch of people lunch, and he totally did it the right way.
I bet he had a cigarette afterwards.
After that meal, yeah. He bought like 100 pounds.
Real quick, I wanted to ask one last question, Aaron, because who could have guessed back in 2009 that Michelin would eventually be in Austin? Not only are they, but eye-rollingly, they gave Michelin stars to 3 different barbecue restaurants not named Franklin BBQ. I think that's ridiculous. I know you're much more modest than to say something like that, but what do you think about Michelin coming to Austin and actually giving 3 stars to different barbecue restaurants?
I mean, good for them. So, you know, like, those places are great, and they do different stuff that we do. They're certainly more creative. Like, we're just OG, classic Central Texas barbecue. And really, we're counter service. We're not eligible for a Michelin anyway. Like, we got a bib, and that is appropriately placed for what we do, but we're just a casual spot. Like, we're a little mom and pop shop. We're not a fancy restaurant. And I would have probably felt more awkward if we had gotten a star, because we don't deserve one. We're not technically even eligible. And I just don't want the standards. I don't want people coming in thinking they're getting something fancy when they're really not. Like, they're getting a memory and they're getting a hug.
Best brisket in the world is kind of its own honor.
Yeah, I'll take that. I feel real good about that.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for the time today. It's been a pleasure getting to chat with you over the years, and maybe as importantly, enjoying all the delicious food that you and your places serve up. So thanks for everything, man.
Heck yeah.
And you guys, the tickets for Hot Luck are still on sale. Whole enchilada passes, all that stuff.
Yep, you can buy them a la carte if you wish. But the whole enchilada pass is really the best deal because that gets you into all the shows, that gets you into all the events. It's just an all-in. It's literally the whole enchilada. That's really the way to go. We have some for sale still. But yeah, get them while you can. It's a darn good time. I mean, it's the best festival I've ever been to.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys at Hot Luck.
Back here on Thursday Supper Club, Sport of Life. Thank you to Aaron Franklin for those first 20 or so minutes. Matthew, welcome back to the show. You were off last week?
I think I was out of town.
Off last week, back this week. Since then, guys, I went to Las Vegas and got to experience the Dead & Company at the Sphere. You've been to the Sphere specifically for the Dead & Company,
I
correct?
have. It is insane. What'd you make of it?
So, I'm not the biggest Grateful Dead fan. Chastise me if you must. The music was cool. The visuals were amazing. There's a couple of slower parts, which I guess is to be expected. You don't want it
Dead and
going
slow.
100 miles per hour the entire time with that sort of visual element. I have to say, the very first thing where it starts on their house in Haight-Ashbury and eventually ends up in outer space, it may be the most visually stunning thing that I have ever seen or will ever see in my life.
Yeah.
So I get the hype, and I would definitely go back there, give it an opportunity.
I was going to say, you look like a new man.
Yeah, you do.
I've never worn a Grateful Dead shirt before.
You
I'm
look
doing that
fresh.
right now.
Looks like you've seen something.
One in
Seen
Pie
light.
Gal. Actually ended up in the black on that trip, which never happens for me in Vegas. So yeah, it was literally like a 26-hour trip to Las Vegas, and it couldn't have gone better.
Where'd you stay?
We stayed at the Westin, which doesn't have a casino in it, and I liked that because at the end of the night,
You don't have to see all those
exactly.
sad people.
Well, not just that, but the lure of going back to the table for a couple more
one
games.
last time.
That's why you're in the black,
A
because
little
you
bit
walked
twisted
away.
up. No kidding.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's why it's nice to stay like somewhere like the Vidara that doesn't have a casino. You
Yeah.
just go across the street. The casino has an allure. If you wake up at 4 a.m. in your bed and have to go to the restroom, you're like, man, just run down to a table real quick.
Just a couple hands of Pie Gal won't hurt anybody.
I left. I was in Arizona a few months ago, and left in the black for the first time in a long time too. So maybe there's something in the air.
What's your game?
I mean, blackjack, I guess. I really love craps if I'm with friends. Last time I was in Vegas, we were playing craps, and it's just such a fun communal game. You get on a heater, and everybody's cheering for you except that one jerk that's betting against the cum. I've had a fun time. I can never quite remember the rules, so I'm always having to
YouTube
brush
it.
up on YouTube it on the airplane. But I think it's a good one. But I mean, blackjack. I think blackjack is the best odds in the casino, although they're not as good as they used to be because of the payouts on blackjack.
Well, the best odds currently, I'm about to pay off my mortgage.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
SEC college football win totals came out. Oklahoma at 6.5.
Bet the under.
Goodness.
Crush the over, folks.
6.5.
6.5.
Wow, no respect.
That is just conference
the
games.
men's football team.
No. It's
No,
nine,
'cause
nine
Texas
and
is
a
at
half.
9.5.
Texas at 9.5. Alabama 9.5. Georgia 9.5. LSU 8.5. Ole Miss 8.5. Tennessee 8.5. So you're telling me that A&M has a higher over/under than Oklahoma?
I would assume OU's would be 7.5 or 8.5. 6.5 does feel
That
like
is-
easy money.
That's nuts.
That is the shine
Wait,
off
are they
the
playing
diamond.
Are they playing 12 games this year?
It doesn't matter. They could be playing 10 games.
Well, I guess if you guys end up 6-6 or worse, we know that there'll be a coaching change next offseason.
Oh yeah, that's guaranteed. If I lose my house because Venables can't win 7 games, there will be hell to pay. But
now you guys did have a tough schedule last year. A lot
and
of
we
the
still do this year.
same teams.
We've got to go to Tennessee, and we've got LSU at home. We got to go to Bama. We've got Michigan in the non-conference. So I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a challenging schedule, but I mean, we've got John Mateer, we've got Ott at running back. Our receiving core is still somewhat banged up, but I mean, we won we didn't win the transfer portal, but we had a top 10 portal class, and the defense is great. Everybody's returning. So I don't get it. But if you're out there trying to make some money, even, You
say everybody's returning on defense. Y'all are losing a couple of key pieces on defense, though, with Stutzman and Bowman, right?
Yes, but at the same time, everybody behind them, right? Kip Lewis, I mean, they've been in the system for multiple years. In some respects, they're better athletes. I mean, Stutzman was the mind, but he wasn't our most athletic. I mean, Kip Lewis is a monster. Like, I think he's a better overall linebacker than Danny Stutzman. But, so that's where I am. I'm gonna be in the black in 2026. Or 2025, thanks to my Sooners taking care of business.
I think that three teams at the top in terms of those win totals are all interesting case studies because it's Alabama, Georgia, and Texas. No surprises there. All at 9.5. I don't know which I feel the most confident about getting to 10 regular season wins amongst those three.
Well, I'll tell you, the Heisman odds have also been released.
And?
The front runner.
Arch Manning,
7-1. Second,
Nussmeier,
Cade Klubnik, Westlake's own, 10-1.
Yeah.
He's the reason why people have Clemson ranked in the top 10 or even top 5 in some polls so far this year. He's one of the biggest gamers at quarterback this year. He's obviously a returning starter. They've done a pretty good job of building that program back up, not using the transfer portal, which may ultimately be Dabo Swinney's downfall.
Big Deck fan, by the way.
Reloaded at the skill positions, especially wide receiver. They're still suspect on the offensive line. That's typically the case, but they have talent all over that defense as well.
And he's a gamer. I mean, I went to the game here in Austin, and he played great. I mean, you can just see he's a great leader and is going to do well. We'll see what Clemson, if like you said, it's the Dabo approach, right? Will that pay off, or will he continue to be one or two injuries away from 7-5?
He's becoming the Izzo of college football. So Izzo's only had 4 one-and-dones ever. This will be his 5th coming up this year in the draft, probably, which I didn't know. That's a shockingly small number. So
Speaking of the draft, how'd you guys feel about the Mavs?
Oh, my God.
Conspiracy theories.
I'm just glad it wasn't the Spurs. Because I would have gone and burned down the NBA headquarters in Paramus, New Jersey, or wherever it is.
I mean, it's hard not to wonder if there is a conspiracy in the NBA if it doesn't rear its head with the draft lottery ever so often, starting with the first draft lottery and the Knicks getting that first pick for Patrick Ewing, and just plenty of examples over time, including teams that trade their star away to the Los Angeles Lakers, getting hooked up with that number 1 overall pick after the fact. I don't know.
I don't believe in conspiracy. You know how many people would have to be quiet?
Yeah, nobody.
There's no such thing as conspiracies at that level.
Nobody can be quiet in this day and
age. You can't even keep a secret among like 7 friends. Like, there's no way that an organization as big as the NBA and the number of people. And I was listening to some of the reporters that were in the room watching the balls come out and the different number of combinations, and the guy telling him when to pull a ball had his back turned. I mean, there's just absolutely no way. But it does seem, if there were conspiracies, I would believe in this one, because that's pretty crazy. And what would be crazy is that Nico Harrison has the opportunity to do the funniest thing in history,
and trade the pick for Giannis
for anybody. Yeah. But it sounds like they're gonna keep it.
Go for flag.
But if he wants to win, I mean, God, if you thought Kyrie's not healthy, so it doesn't matter. But a Kyrie, Clay, Cooper Flag, Lively, and AD starting 5 would be at least the second best starting 5 in the NBA next year.
Supposedly Kyrie would not be back until the end of next season.
Maybe March or something?
Yeah, something like that. So they would need to figure out a way. But he's also on the older side, too, so there's no guarantees that he'll even be anywhere near where he was before that devastating knee injury at the end of this current season.
Well, the West definitely needed more talent. So,
is the East still going to – the East is going to be the JV for sure next year.
What do you think about the Warriors topping the Rockets? I guess you predicted that before the series started, but you guys pushed them all the way to the brink, and then, of course, he ends up getting hurt pretty quickly in that second round series against Minnesota, who now moves on to the Western Conference Finals for a second straight year.
Yeah, they're going to take down Oklahoma City in the finals.
No,
I think
not.
we all know that.
No, they're not. That team, the Thunder, are growing before your eyes. Get ready.
We've never seen. I mean, I was at an Oklahoma City game last March, and I said this team's going to win a championship in the next few years, but we've never seen a team go to the finals and win a title without having been to at least the conference finals, if not the NBA finals.
I'm saying down 9, 3 minutes left at home. You win by 6.
The Nuggets are exhausted. It was sad. The Nuggets should have won that game.
Okay, yeah, they are exhausted because the Thunder are young and they learned how to win, and they're going to close it out tonight. There's a lot of good sports on tonight. We got OU Texas baseball. We got Thunder Game 6.
Nuggets, underdogs at home. Spin the Nuggets. Take the 4.5 points.
Are we turning? You can call Matthew's cell phone. The hotline is up and ready. It's
parlay that with the Murray over on points.
Minute. We are quickly becoming a gambling show, but no, we are not. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for OU Texas baseball. It's going to be a great series. I wish it was. I always like it when it's here in Austin because I get to go see the boys, but it should be good. Oklahoma's coming off a tough series at Kentucky. And did not hold serve the way that they should, but at home in Norman, it'll be a. I mean, Texas has been playing pretty good baseball most of the year.
They've been reeling for the last couple of conference series after going undefeated conference series wise up until 2 weekends ago. They get swept by Arkansas and then get beat pretty handily in 2 of 3 against Florida last weekend. So they're looking to get that mojo back. After they swept A&M, people, myself included, were foolishly talking Team of Destiny stuff, but of all the major sports, baseball is the one that tends to turn on a dime like that, and that's happened to the Longhorns. It's a combination of things, too. Everything seems to be going negative at the same time, but they've also dealt with quite a few injuries that seem to be catching up with them now, too.
I was going to say, there's nothing like playing your rival from the north to maybe change the energy in the dugout.
And then you got the PGA Championship this weekend. You're gonna need a divorce lawyer by the end of the weekend.
Thankfully, the only thing we have on the current calendar, other than potentially Hot Lugs next weekend, is my son's got a drum performance, a little Motown. You
got to introduce him to Aaron Franklin.
Yeah.
Drummer extraordinaire.
Yeah, and I think Joel Freed from El Dorado's a drummer as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
They could have a whole hospitality industry band.
Drum circle.
Tom Michelwaite was in the Hex Dispensers, right?
Yep.
His name was Tom Kodiak or something like that. I think he had a nom de guerre. Nom de slay.
I love that. Well, and while I'm real quick, I got to brag on my son. You didn't hear this, Matthew, but he won the Spirit of St. Francis Award for golf, which was voted on by his teammates.
Is that just best attitude?
I think he paid him off.
Best with animals? Is that St. Francis?
No, best attitude, best overall kind of sportsmanship.
Good
which
for him.
I turned immediately to my daughter and said, "Did you vote for him?" And she goes, "No."
Hell no.
Yeah, I know, but H no. But. No, super excited for him.
So he's not a club thrower?
No, he is.
Oh,
but maybe that's what they like. Maybe that's what cinched the award for him. But no, it is going to be a fun sports weekend. And you're right. I will probably set up the big screen, the projector, and just hang out, watching a little bit of golf, listening to some radio, baseball, and. Thunder will take care of business tonight, and they'll get another little break.
Spin the Nuggets.
You were espousing the virtue of sports on the radio last Thursday at Old Pal.
Yeah.
They'll do golf on the radio sometimes. How do you like golf on the radio?
I love golf on the radio.
I don't think I've ever heard golf on the radio.
Yeah, because one of the things about golf on TV is you only see those that are moving, and you only see the great shots, right? It's edited for television. Like Masters Radio probably does it the best, right?
That's true.
And so you get updates from around the course. You'll hear yardages, club selections, break, and then inevitably, if it's worthy of television, it'll show up on your TV 30 seconds later, and then you get to kind of match the visual to the audio. So I'm all in radio for any sport.
Radio Frisbee. For baseball is obviously the best radio sport.
Because baseball is a storyteller sport.
Yeah, it's great.
A lot of time, and so not only do you get to paint the picture of what's happening on the field, and you have time to do so, but you got a lot of in-between time to share those funny anecdotes from over the years.
Yeah. Shout out Robert Ford, Astros radio broadcaster. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Milo Hamilton back in the day.
Pat Hughes got a shout-out from me last week. I'll give him another one. Toby Rowland.
What are we talking about here?
What's the matter?
God.
I worked with Pat Hughes.
Oh, no. I didn't know this.
And I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
Wow.
While the microphones are on.
Not a fan.
Pat Hughes, there are examples in this world of people who have the kindest, gentlest tones into microphones or cameras who are anything but when those things aren't recording. I'm not saying Pat Hughes is that.
Hello,
I'm also
friends.
not saying Pat Hughes is not that either.
My goodness, it's like hosting a radio show with Odam.
Shots fired.
Sounds great on the radio, but man.
Boy, what a pain.
Offline, it's like.
What a diva.
Absolute chaos. I didn't even reply to the text thread this week.
I didn't even know that you could write those words with the text messenger.
It was very light on the goose ridicule too. I was surprised. I just figured you were having a busy.
No, there was some good
Instagram.
There was some good.
It's always there.
No, there was some good goose ridicule.
Poor guy. He's never going to evolve. He's just going to stay stuck in his old ways.
It's the best.
So this happened a couple weeks ago, and I've wanted to share it with you guys. I've had to think about the best way to discuss it, though, to share this story without getting myself in too much trouble. But as you guys know, I coach my volleyball team, my daughter's volleyball team. A bunch of fourth graders, great group of kids, great group of parents. Well, we had our end-of-season tournament a couple weeks ago, and the league, unfortunately, is a little bit disorganized. So the two best teams in the league end up having to play one another in the first round. It's our team and this other team.
Wait, the two best teams play each other in the first round?
In the first round. It was ridiculous.
Flip-flop, ding-dong.
The other coach agreed that it was a little bit silly that the two undefeated teams, technically they had one match loss, but we were unquestionably the two best teams in the league playing in the first round. Whatever. Youth leagues are disorganized. It's just the way it goes sometimes. But this other team, the coach has a reputation in multiple sports of taking advantage of the fact that other people don't know the rules well enough to where she'll operate a certain way, even if it's not necessarily completely above board, but because people either don't know the rules or don't want to call it out.
I'm not lying. I'm just not telling the truth.
Right, exactly. And so I've known this for a few years now. I've seen it in volleyball. I've seen it in basketball now. And so we played them in volleyball again. And at one point, my wife comes up to me behind the bench and is like, hey, they are out of rotation. They are basically keeping one setter at the net and rotating around it. And the rules state very explicitly, it's not a long list of rules, but it says you have to stay in order. And so at that
Seems
point,
fair.
you wonder, are they skipping serves? But this coach a couple of years ago was doing double subs, and that's not allowed. So middle of one of these games, I stopped play, and I asked the ref, I'm like, hey, I think everybody's supposed to be staying in order here, and this is not happening. And the coach comes over, she starts to get upset with me and saying, well, we're trying to play with the setter, and that doesn't happen at this level. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. These are the rules. And so she has to adjust. To her credit, she adjusts. And by the way, she has one of the best teams in the league. They don't need to bend the rules like they do in order to still be really good and win a lot of matches.
Did you key her car?
I didn't key her car.
Where's this going?
But right after I say this and we have our little back and forth, there's a parent standing directly behind me because some of the viewership, I guess, because there's limited stands in this gym at Cedar Park Rec Center, one of the parents starts chirping at me, saying, oh, other kids, how dare you, that's so low class of you. And I turned around and I said, look, your coach has a reputation of bending the rules to her advantage. Like, I'm just trying to get her to do what the rules say she should. And then at this point, the coach runs back over to me and says, did you just call me a cheater? I said, no, I didn't call you a cheater. I said, you bend the rules, Popovich, calm down. So it's getting a little bit heated at this point. Things are stopped on the court. It eventually gets back to normal. It's a very hard-fought match. We win the first set. They win the second set. They barely win the third set. End of the game, I shake the hands. She doesn't want to look at me anymore, but I've also just called her out for something that she very blatantly does, that every other coach in the leagues that she's a part of knows she does too. And yeah, so got into a little bit of a verbal skirmish with another coach in my daughter's fourth grade volleyball tournament. Thank you very much.
Was your wife in the stands?
She was totally against the other coach because
good.
she's seen it with her
That's
own
good.
2 eyes also.
Because that could go one of two ways. She's
Oh,
either hiding her face in shame, or she's got your back.
Well, all the parents on my team, like
That's my wife's move.
we've got a great relationship.
Leaving the gym.
All the parents and I have a great
Nicole.
relationship, and you guys have seen my computer-like demeanor. You can't really ever tell what my emotions are.
I'd figure just angry, just always simmering.
Maybe a tinge of the tism, but afterwards, after the match, the parents were like, "Oh, it just looked like you were having a friendly conversation because you weren't getting emotional at all." And she was starting to get emotional, so we were like, "What is going on?" But it just looked like a friendly conversation back and forth. And then I explained what happened. They're like, "Oh yeah, we remember seeing that a couple of years ago. Yep, that's exactly like that, coach. Good for you for calling her out." And hopefully it means she's not trying to pull any more of that BS going forward, whatever the sport is that her group is playing.
Hope she listens. Hope you're listening, Carol.
Oh, she's somewhat of a public figure.
Karen.
This could get a lot uglier.
Oh,
Mrs.
wow.
Hughes.
Somewhat of a public
Somewhat
figure.
of a public figure, yes.
Mrs.
So,
Johnson
we're
and
gonna
your
stop
donuts.
We're going to stop right there without naming names. And there's my story of
I think
getting a little bit too into my 4th grade volleyball league.
The thing that the retort that you always hear is like, oh, it's just kids. And it's like, no, that's exactly why it matters.
Exactly.
Because we are trying to demonstrate to them that there are rules of the game that you play by.
This is not nom. There
This
are
is not
rules.
nom. There are rules.
Over the line.
It's
Over the line.
Mark at 8.
Mark at
We
8,
won.
dude.
No, so it's,
Yeah, they're going to be adults, and then they're going to be cheating adults and think that that's okay.
And
Right.
that's
And
where
you
it's
can't
just
have
like,
that.
look, you're clearly doing something right because these kids are very talented at the sports that they play. You don't need to teach them to bend the rules also. You don't want to create a bunch of little cheaters that grow up to be adult cheaters.
I mean, it's like, naming yourself club champion at a golf course that you own because you pick up everything within 6 feet.
Pick it up. Pick it up.
That's why golf.
So we could have been playing against a bunch of future presidents. For
That's
all I
right.
know.
That's right. That would probably be the counter argument.
What a country.
Is this volleyball team is
going to destroy democracy.
Yeah. It's like if you want to coach volleyball like Joe Biden, you coach volleyball like Joe Biden. I'm going to coach it the right way. No, it's it's about setting the example, and it's about playing by the rules.
Now I'm really
y'all.
praying that my girls never get into sports. You guys have really ruined it for me. So
I can't wait for
appreciate
your
it.
girls to get into sports.
No.
I will be.
It's going to be a lot
their
of fun.
biggest supporters.
Yeah, we're coming and we're sitting in the stands
And
supporting your daughters playing sports.
and if they do play sports, they'll probably have their mom's athletic abilities, so they'll actually be good to watch.
I hope so. It's the best athlete I've ever.
I don't know. I've seen some
known.
pictures of you playing. Your basketball pictures are pretty fire.
I had a pretty good left-handed jumper. I was a 3-point assassin.
You look like.
Oh,
Kenny,
you a lefty too? Mm-hmm. Me too.
If Kenny the Jet Smith was a young.
Kenny the Jet Smith gave me a pair of his shoes after a pickup run at Second Baptist Church in 1991.
You still have them?
No, I didn't have them very long either. I don't know why. We were leaving, and he saw my UNC Chapel Hill sticker on my Mitsubishi Eclipse, and he had blown a shoe while we were playing, and he gave me his shoes. Kenny Smith, shout out the Jet, shout out the Houston Rockets.
Did you have the side spin on your jumper like Kenny Smith did?
Oh no, I had a pure jumper. Kenny
Okay.
couldn't touch my jumper.
All right, last thing now, guys. Each week we end with a recommendation. Stubbs, let's start with you this week. What's something you ate, drank, or otherwise that you want to give some love to?
Oh man, I've had a pretty good. This past weekend we did pretty well. I've already shouted out Strangelove. We ended up there. Great vibe there. Texas French Bread had a little garden party. They're starting their rebuild. Had some good vino there. And then I'm looking at this. Honestly, I'm looking at this menu at Uptown.
Get the fried shrimp po' boy.
If I didn't have employee reviews, I'd probably post up here for the rest of my day. Love this vibe here too. So I'm going to say Uptown is the place to go this weekend. It's nice and cool in here. So despite the heat out there, come get yourself a po' boy and a tasty cold beverage. And Matthew, what have you been eating? You've been eating anything?
Aaron hasn't started up the gumbo window yet, has he?
No. His gumbo is great though.
Yeah, it is.
I will say I was at Uptown last Tuesday, just in the booth here, and I didn't realize that they now serve a Franklin chopped brisket sandwich at Uptown. So I had it. It's great. It's huge. So if you don't want to wait in line at Franklin BBQ and you want some of his brisket, you can get a chopped brisket sandwich at Uptown now. It's fantastic. I usually go for the fried shrimp po' boy, dipped in a little bit of Rambler. Apparently they think the minerality and the bubbles of the Rambler give the tempura crunch a little extra bite. So I usually go with the fried shrimp po' boy, but the chopped brisket sandwich at Uptown is pretty killer.
Yeah, so is the roast beef po' boy too. Last time I was
thought you
here, I
only
had
ate
one of those.
sushi.
I usually eat sushi, but sometimes I eat barbecue.
Good.
I'm going to give a shout to a place that's just a couple of blocks away, Counter Cafe. Went there before coming here today because I was in a breakfast vibe. Simple breakfast sandwich, got a side of bacon extra crispy. Ordering bacon extra crispy pretty much any place is a waste of time. As Andrew Zimmern talked to me about a couple of years ago, the bacon is always pre-cooked, so to get it back to the proper crispy level, next to impossible. Counter Cafe made it extra crispy. Some of the best bacon I've had in this city. So Counter Cafe, solid spot for breakfast or lunch.
One of the great pancake spots with the kiddos, for sure. Big pancakes, and always have a good time there, for sure.
Enjoy the golf this weekend, boys.
We are through.
Go
another
Thunder.
Thursday Supper Club.
Go Nuggets.
I'm sorry, Thunder Up.
Wow.
I think
okay.
that's what you're supposed to say. I'm learning. I'm
Where's
a
your
new
white
fan.
T-shirt, or is it blue T-shirt? God, what a
Black
bunch of
T-shirt.
dorks.
I'll wear. I mean, I'm on board, guys.
What a dorky fan base.
Hey, when we have the parade in downtown OKC, it's going
There's
to
a
look
downtown in OKC?
glorious. There is. It's amazing.
There's 7 churches.
It's a penny tax has rebuilt Oklahoma City. That's all it took.
It's where the softball fields are.
A little off. But softball is going to take care of business too. I mean, championships are just headed to Oklahoma. We got the golf team. We're
Over under 6.5.
Rings.
Bet the under.
Rings.
Bet the under.